All right. A question was posted on my Facebook wall from Guru Besar Jerry Jacobs in Penchat Silat about teaching rank people who you have to kick out of your school maybe, and should you revoke their rank that you have given them in your system, which begs the question, of course, that doesn't revoke their skill. It just revokes the thing that you have given them. The very first thing that I want to say about this is I have been on both sides of this coin. I have had rank revoked, not from anything that I did to the school, but simply because of my youth, or let's call it a character flaw I had, that most people do have, by the way. And just some teacher said, oh, you're not, you know, this does not reflect the ethics of our school. The first thing I want to say about this is that if you have somebody that you've given rank to in the martial arts, any martial art, let's start there. I'm leaving out Penchat Silat for a minute. Any martial art that you have, if you have handed somebody rank, what you've done is you put your name on a piece of paper and you've said, I have found this person worthy of this level, in my opinion, in my expert opinion, in the martial art that I train, teach, that I have dedicated so much of my life to. This person is worthy of teaching, or this person has reached a certain level in that, and I put my name on this to prove it. This is a two-edged sword, and as a teacher, you're often let off the hook because you're the one in authority. But it reflects badly on you as well if you have to say, I revoke that rank. No one ever calls us on it, but this is the deal. You put your name on it. That person at one time was like your golden boy. And you said, no, I revoked the rank here. This is a straight up power trip. This is a straight up head game. If you were honest, and when everybody started training, you went up to each student and you had a list of things. You said, if you do anything on this list, I will revoke the rank that you will dedicate years out of your life, money that you have spent, and my own personal time. If you gave them that list and you were that honest, said, here's what could happen to you in 8 to 12 years. How many students would you have? What would your name, what would your word be worth? This is the harder road to travel, and I had examples of it when I was younger in my early training, and I didn't like it. I watched it happen to other people who simply did, and I'm going to ramble here, please bear with me. It often happened to people who didn't do anything to the school per se, or the teacher, but outside of the school, where they might have had DUI, or they might have done this or might have done that. One of the things that I always say is that your authority over any student begins and ends at the door to your school. If you claim to be, if all you are is a teacher of the martial arts, but you claim to be some freaking life coach or a holistic person, and you're trying to guide their lives, you have crossed the line. You have no business dipping your hand into the guidance of other people's lives unless you are professionally qualified, unless you're like a professional psychiatrist. I see people calling themselves life coach, and all they've ever done is gone through a painful divorce. You can't instruct somebody on how to do their taxes, or what car they should drive, or what is their financial future, how to prepare for a better job, and what education. No. You're a teacher of the martial arts. And because there's no governing body of teaching martial arts, like there is teaching medicine, or many other fields where there's a guild and a set of structures and bylaws that you must legally abide by, the martial arts has nothing like that. So you get to pick and choose like a salad bar what it is you're going to do or not do. And I've always found these people to be, it's like there's people that are skilled in one area, and so they think that translates to another area. How many people have heard these gift promotions or gift black belts, where, oh, he's a 7th degree in jiu-jitsu, that makes him a black sash in Penchat Silat? No, it doesn't. It doesn't know anything about your art. You're just being you're trying to hustle it. So if you put your name on a certificate and you tell somebody, this is what I see in you. You are this level. You have worked this hard. That should be it. No questions asked. Now, if that person has done something that you must distance yourself from or disassociate or excommunicate them from the school, fine, do so. I have had that happen. But don't say, now I revoke your rank. You actually can't do that. That's not, you put your name on it. You said they were worthy. What's your word worth now? What are you, a liar or just stupid? Either way, I want nothing to do with you. You said this one thing and then you told the whole class, nope, I was wrong. Let me take it away. Now the whole school is going, that could happen to me. I could fart in class and he's going to revoke my rank. Fuck this. I'm being blunt, but I think I need to be. A lot of people tend to think this is something to do with honor or traditions of the school or something. That's not it. That's a straight up power trip. It's a head game. Look what I'm going to do. I'm going to exert this power, extort you over all this time that you spent. Now I'm going to make it worth nothing. Don't do that. Don't make this mistake. I once had, I've had a couple of students I've had to, look, you don't belong here, or I have to ask you to leave. That's not going to happen again. Get out. But there was one time I had, and I wrote about it. You might know it. Some of you might not. That's fine. But I had a involvement in my school, and this is back when I was in the absolute worst of my back, my spinal problems, and I was on heavy medication, drinking heavily. So I had a lot of bad things happening at once. I don't want to make this about me, but I don't want to make it sound like I was perfect or, completely innocent of everything that happened in the school. There was an incident where 5 students decided they were going to band together and take over the rest of the school. 2 of them literally were sort of suckered into it. They didn't actually see what was happening until the very last minute, and they both contacted me. Both of these students are off doing their own thing now, and that's cool. I don't have any ill will toward them. But the other 3 were premeditatively trying to take over the school. That was located in my garage, by the way. They were still thinking they were going to come to the garage and they were going to be the teacher and I was going to be the student, or whatever. These were my students. And I had promoted 2 of them to a rank, it's a Filipino rank called Naguro. This is like, it sort of means brown belt. What it really means is like before guru. You're not really a teacher yet. Guru is teacher. It's not like, skilled. You should be skilled, but it means you are qualified to teach, in my opinion, and in Indonesian's opinion. So Naguro means, he's everything but a teacher. And in my opinion, being a teacher is not something you get when you are automatically a black belt or a ranked fighter. Being a teacher is a calling to me. It's something that you make an investment in. I just wanted, for years and years, I just wanted to be skilled in the martial arts. I didn't care about teaching it. And a couple of my teachers died. Paul Herman died. A couple of them moved away. Chris Petrelli moved to Sedona, Arizona. And actually, my Wing Chun teacher, John Lapham, said, Sifu John Lapham got in my face one time. And he said, why aren't you teaching? And I was like, good. So did a couple of other people. So I started teaching so I could have people to play with. And after that, it just became like, oh, I love this. And I started, so teaching, in my opinion, is a calling. You need to constantly develop yourself as a teacher. If you are a teacher, there's a few things. It sounds like I'm getting off on a tangent here. I'm not. I'll circle back around to the point. Bear with me. If you are a teacher, then you must have your students' best interest at heart. This cannot be a recruitment drive where you see how many students you can collect and make your association or your organization worldwide, and you have patches and these cool little belts or sashes or sarongs, or you wear a cool hat and you got all this other shit. You can't do that. That's not being a teacher. That's being what's the word I'm looking for here? A secretary. Being a teacher means that you have the best interest of your students and you are there to make them the best version of the thing that you teach that you possibly can. I look at myself, James Keating, Master James Keating said this to me, and I don't train his system. I'm friends with the man, but I'm going to give him full credit because this opened my eyes. He said, you're not the end result for students. You're a bridge to get them to the next point. That's what teachers are. I don't believe a student should be solely with one teacher. I go against the grain with a lot of things in martial arts, so this might not appeal to the question you asked, Jerry. Guru Base Star Jerry Jacobs. I go against the grain with a lot of things in the martial arts because I don't believe they're conducive to the growth of a teacher and the growth, helping them, the growth of their students. I believe it sabotages you, such as this question of should you revoke rank. I believe teachers are a bridge for their students to get to the next level. And sometimes the next level also resides with the same teacher. Sometimes, many times, it does not. Even if you have much more to give, there's many occasions where that student you're teaching has gotten all he can get from you. And he must follow his path with somebody else or in another direction. And he might circle right back around to you and then be ready for the higher level stuff you have. But the thing you have to take away from this is that membership does not equal ownership. These are your students, they're not your serfs. They're not here to feed your ego. If anything's reversed, you are a servant of your students. You are there to make sure they have the best absolute training and you have their best interest in heart. And that means admitting when you are not the right teacher for them or they have gotten everything they can get from you. The students that staged a little revolt in my school, 2 of them were promoted to right before guru level. They had certificates with my name and my chop on it. And I was faced with a very difficult decision at that point because my name was on it. Now these students earned that rank. They were that good. Other people came and saw them and they were like, God, my God, these students are yours. They're just fantastic. They don't need you don't stand over their shoulder and tell them what to do when they teach. They just know what they're doing. Like, yeah, they should. That was my job. So when the 2 that I promoted, it was a very malicious and bitter parting we had. And I was faced with that decision. Do I publicly come out and say, no, I revoke? I didn't do it. Because I still believe, yes, they earned that rank. They reached that level of skill. But that was the last of it. I believe it diminishes the instructor when you have to go back and say, I revoke this rank. I see instructors online right now. It's become the vogue thing to do. It's become the fashionable thing to print out lists of students you've kicked out. That would be a shameful thing for me. I would be utterly ashamed to show my face ever again if I started publishing a list. Here's the list of people I was too fucking stupid to reach. Here's a list of people that I found character flaws and I think I'm so much better than. A list. It wasn't just 1 or 2. It's like in the dozens, up to the hundreds sometimes. I would be utterly ashamed of myself that I had to do that. I'm ashamed of that group that I had to kick out in the first place. I should have been a bigger man. I should have seen it coming. I should have corrected my own character flaws in the first place to head that off at the pass. And that taught me at the time to vet my students, keep a close watch on them, and when things start to go off kilter, set the boundary there. Don't back up and go, okay, let it go. And that's where I got the philosophy of, I've said this before, what you allow will continue. What continues will expand. If you allow it, it'll keep going. Why would it stop? If you allow it to keep going, it'll get worse. It's like yogurt. It starts out small, grows into a big pot the next day. I don't know if you make yogurt or not. Anyway, okay, getting back to the point. There's also another side to this that I want to get at. I had a teacher whose philosophies and I don't know, I caught him in lie. He's a very famous teacher. And I'm not going to say his name. Some of you might recognize him from my description. Please don't, in the comment section, please don't say his name. He's dead now, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead posthumously. This just happened at a time. I found him to be dishonest. I found him to be insane. But at the time, this person was a big name. Still kind of is. So I went in for training. This was in between the time Pa Herman died and me going to Malaysia and training Liam Padukon, and then going to Bambang to finish up Monday Muda training. I went to this guy because he was a big name and supposedly had all the answers, and everybody swore by him. Daniel Santo swore by him. All right. I spent 2 years with the guy, and because of utter conflicts, and I found it to be huge, I had to cut ties with him. I just cut him off completely. But before I did that, there was a couple things. One of the things that clued me in is that he said he would allow me to keep my Monday Muda rank, as if I earned it at his behest. Like, you don't. That's not something. That's where the thing of you don't get to control the other aspects of a student's life. You don't get to decide what rank I keep that came from somebody else. That's not your business. The other thing was he had promoted me in a very short time because I had skill. He had promoted me to regional director of the state of Washington, where I lived. I still live. I'm heading back there now. He promoted me to regional director. I got a really big certificate. His stamp, his signature, whole 9 yards. Okay. But I found I couldn't keep training with him or represent him as things became uncovered about his own personality and character flaws. And at the time, I didn't say anything about it, though. I simply cut myself off. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't be part of this anymore. And that's where I stopped him. He came out and made a big deal and said, well, Bobby Edmonds, he learned this from me. Bobby Edmonds started ripping apart my YouTube videos and all this other stuff. And I kind of expected that, but I was like, all right. And I hadn't actually said anything about this teacher. There were no pictures or videos of me online. There are now. But at the time, I had all the pictures and videos, and he didn't. Actually, he had a video of me, but he didn't remember making it, so he didn't know he had it. And the reason this is the case, I came out online and I said, I never trained with this guy. I don't know who he is. I've never trained with him. I got my skill from all these other people who I can prove that I have trained with. Oh man, that almost put him in his grave right there. There's no student. This is one of the guys who published lists and said, here's the current group of people who I've kicked out of my school. I was like, I was never in a school. And he lost his shit over that. He shit kittens. Yes, you did. I taught you what. He suddenly started saying online in a lot of chat rooms, I taught him this, I taught him that. I just listed out, and somebody said, isn't that your whole curriculum? He's like, it doesn't matter. I revoked and he said, but you taught him this. You just admitted this. And I would go online and say, I'm sorry, if you can produce a picture or a video or anything of me with you. Well, here's the rank I gave you. I'm like, you could have made that up. Show me where I am standing with you or in your school or anything. I had dozens of photos of this. He didn't have a one. And he lost his mind over it. And for years, I denied ever training with him. I said, no, sorry, I don't know you. I've never trained with you. And he couldn't believe this happened. And now he had been guilty of this with lots of other students. And the other students saying, yes, I did. Look, I have a rank certificate. He's saying, no, you didn't. This is the first time this had ever happened with him. And this also taught me about what a double-edged sword it is. When you say, I revoked that rank, right, and somebody says, well, I never got any rank from you. You're nobody. That's another thing that looks really bad on you. You signed off with this guy and you made a big-ass deal of it. You revoked his rank, and that boomerang came back around and just hit you dead in the back of the ass. I realized dead in the back of the ass. I mean, what's the front of the ass? That was probably a stupid... I'm sorry. Let me go back. That hit you dead in the back of your head. So, that was another example to me. I watched this man who, I have to admit, in hindsight, I wouldn't change that. I would still do it because it was a valuable lesson for me. But it tortured him. He had never had this happen before. And to have his name questioned in such a way where everybody was saying, well, Bobby says he never trained with you. And we know he trained with these other people, but there's nothing to prove he trained with you. That really, and I want to, in case anybody does guess who this is, I never repaired my relationship with this guy, but before he died, I think he knew he was dying. He offered an olive branch to me and many of the other people that he did this to. So I can't fault him. Or I can say maybe he learned from his mistakes. But getting back to the idea of putting out lists, these are the people I could show me the people that you absolutely not only train but are so proud of that you put them out there, and here's a list of them, and here's what they've achieved and gone on to do on their own. There's lots of students I've had that have gone on to other things, and the first thing that they say, I got 2 really great compliments in the past several years that I've been off the teaching scene. I'm getting back in. I'm coming back online, teaching again, putting out videos. But while I was recovering from spinal surgery and going through all this other stuff, I got 2 really great compliments from 2 separate Eskrima masters. One, and both of them dealt with my students. One was from Grandmaster Kakori Kinete. I'm a child of Dosei Pares, if anything else. And he saw a student of mine move, and he was sparring with another student. And Grandmaster Kakori came over, and he was like, "Oh, hey, you know, you're moving really good. Who's your teacher?" And da-da-da. He goes, "Oh, Guru Bobby." And the student came back to me and told me this. He said, Grandmaster Kakori Kinete nodded his head. He goes, "Oh, yes, Bobby knows." That was, it isn't that he came up to me and said, "Bobby, you move really well." Or Baboy, as he called him. I still can't get over that. He didn't come to me and say, "Bobby, you're doing it right." He went to one of my students and said, "Oh, yeah, it makes sense now. Bobby taught you." I could have died right there and been satisfied. That was the ultimate compliment to me. I was recognized through one of my students' abilities. Second thing happened again, but with Grandmaster Bobby Tabawada, whose Balintawak system I am only like dipping my hands in the palm olive of. I've been peripherally involved with Balintawak. I was at the first seminar he ever gave in Seattle, which was over 20 years ago, for those of you who know. I love Balintawak, but I've never sat down and become a serious student of it. I'll admit it, actually, I've stolen from Balintawak. I've filled in the gaps of Dosei Pares with Balintawak. And they were both, at one time, they were the same system. So, Bobby Tabawada did about the same thing with another student of mine. And said, that guy's really good. And the student, he was at a seminar of Bobby Tabawada. And the guy throwing the seminar goes, "Oh, yeah, it's Bobby Edmonds' student." He goes, "Wow, Bobby's a really great teacher." Boom. That, to me, is when you have done your job. Don't come to me, now I'm going to circle back around the point. Don't come to me with a list of who you've thrown out. Don't come to me with a list of people, "Oh, I spotted a character flaw in this guy, and so after 20 years of training, I kicked him to the curb." Fuck that guy. You do everything to denigrate him and put him down and publicly shame him. I'm not impressed. That to me, that makes you look like the bigger idiot. That to me says you are completely unworthy to be a teacher, let alone to give you any of my time. And that was a pretty big bump. So, let alone to give you any of my time and money. Point out to me who your best are. Point out to me who your success. Point out to me where you actually did the job. And now here's this guy, and maybe he's not even associated with you anymore. And here's this guy out there making it work. My students have gone on more often than not. I've kicked out a few. Many who have trained with me have gone on to train with other people and started their own schools. One guy, he's more really of a training partner of mine than ever. And I came up with him through Chris Petrelli's, and he went on to become like the personal bodyguard of Mick Fleetwood. He's gone on to make his own name, and he's like, he's one of the most respected martial artists, physical fitness trainers, yoga instructors. He's just amazing. And he and I came up together as not only training partners, but training brothers. We would spend hours and hours just training and flowing and moving and grooving. And I perfectly gave him a certificate. I said, "Dude, you are on it." This was years and years ago. It was at least 15, 18 years ago that I gave him a certificate. He's way moved past that now. And this is my point. You are a bridge. You're not the final destination. You're there to get the student to the next place in their training. If you're coming at it from any other point than that, if you're saying, "I am the penultimate," you're fooling yourself. I've never met the teacher who had every answer. And even when they had an answer, and even a good answer, you desperately need another point of view as a student. Sometimes just to put that answer in context. Sometimes just to simply have a supported belief in the first answer you were given. It's absolutely imperative to get another point of view in your martial arts education. You must do so, whether it be from your own system or training something completely different. You must, because no one teacher has all the answers. And even just getting one other answer from somebody else can make all the difference in your understanding of the first answer you got. I hope that wasn't too twisty to understand. So, should you revoke rank? I say no. Should you distance and make a point to say, yes, I gave him the rank, but he is no longer associated with me? And don't put that student down, no matter what he's doing. Don't put that student down. Don't denigrate him, saying, I found his behavior unacceptable, or we simply couldn't continue on training, or he couldn't simply be my student anymore. I was in a position where I couldn't be his teacher anymore. Done. That's where you should stop it. His rank is his own, because you said, I believe in this student. You're the one who said, I believe he's so good, I'll put my name on a piece of paper and hand it to him. That's how much I believed in him. So if that wasn't right, how big a fool were you? And what's your word worth now that you're willing to do that? Go back and think about it. Would you accept anything from a teacher if you walked brand new into a school and he handed you a list and he was utterly honest and he said, you do anything on this list, or if at a whim of my own choosing you do something and I simply decide I don't like that, it offends my morals or my version of religion or my version of what I got from my teacher. If someone hands you a list and said, sign this, and for any of these reasons, if you do them, or I make one up, I'll take your rank, kick you out, and all that time, money, effort, everything you've devoted to will be wiped away, and I'll deny you in front of everybody else. Would you sign that? Would you join that school? Would that be something you would want? Some people listening right now have had that happen to them already. They've already had their rank revoked. They've been denied from their teachers, and they know how it feels when they put in effort, time. They give in so much money that they could be devoting to something else, doing something else, and at the end of the day, they're told, you know what? I didn't like that you wore that T-shirt. I don't like what you said over here. So I'm going to play a power trip on you. I'm going to play a head game. I'm going to try to exert my power over your life, and I'm going to revoke that goal, which the actual goal should be the skill, not the rank. But it ties together. If you handed them a certificate and then you go back and take it back, what's it worth? What's your word worth? That's my answer.